Thank you very much, Jen. I'm Aisha Bilgin from Macquarie University. I'm the chair for this session. I'd like to introduce Rini briefly. She sent me a short CV, but it was long, so I'm going to make it shorter. Rini Octavia got many degrees, starting with, as everyone else, with having a bachelor degree, and master's degree followed in mathematics. And she has done some of her study in Indonesia and others in America. Now she's back in Indonesia and doing lots of lovely research and teaching many students in mathematics. And in the meantime, she has a love for statistics education. She's trying to put a little bit spice in her teaching so that students who are studying mathematics are not out of job when they go out there. If they know a little bit statistics, it'll be useful to them. So I'm going to leave the floor to Rini to present her presentation.
Thank you, Ace, for the introduction. Thank you so much for everyone. I would like to say the greetings. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you. Mercy and blessings from God. Good morning and good afternoon, maybe for some of you, to all attendees from all parts of the world. It is a great honor for me to speak to all of you today. Thank you so much for Dr. Nairanjana Dasgupta and Dr. Jessica Colsmith, and the team for organizing this wonderful event. I should express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Saleha Habibullah, who recommended me to be the one of the panelists today. Thank you so much. I'm Rini Octavia, currently the Secretary of the Department of Mathematics at Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science at Universitas Syiah Kuala in Banda Aceh, Indonesia. I do not consider myself as a statistician nor a data scientist, but I actually conduct some research in this field. But I'm a mathematics, statistics, and data science educator. I have involved with the International Association of Statistics Educations since I was in graduate school around 2012. So this organization is very dear to me. So I'm glad that I could speak in front of you today. I really enjoyed the previous presentations, and looking at the qualities of the panelists' work, I'm convinced that we should be able to close the gender gap in statistics and data science related jobs if we work together to achieve it. I wish I could ask my colleagues in statistics and data science fields in Indonesia to participate as panelists. I just didn't realize of the possibilities when I got the invitation last September. I hope my presentation will add some value to this conference. Okay, let me begin with my presentation. I will share my presentation slide first. Okay. Today I will talk about female students' participation in statistics and data science, a reflection. What we have, the problems that we face in Universitas Syiah Kuala. So it's very short, very narrow object, I think. Okay. When I went to some countries, I found that not many people knows about Indonesia. So I will use this opportunity to introduce my country. Maybe some of you already know about Bali. Yeah, everybody knows about Bali, but some of them didn't realize that Bali is actually an island in Indonesia. So Indonesia is the largest archipelago in the world. Yeah, it is in Southeast Asia, located between two oceans, Indian Ocean and Pacific Oceans. The archipelago is also the largest in the world, has about more than 17,000 islands. You cannot see all the islands on the map because some of them are very small, and it is most of them uninhabited island. But the big islands are very populous, especially the Java Island. So we are the fourth world most populous country in the world. And we are the most populous Muslim majority country in the world. So half of the population actually live in Java Island. The small island in the middle, as you can see, the small island in the middle where our capital Jakarta is located. We will move the capital in the future. That's the plan of the government. So now I talk about my hometown. It is in the most western part of Sumatra Island, which is close to Malaysia, Thailand, and Singapore. That's island, the Sumatra Island. It's also the most north place in Indonesia. So the northernmost and also the westernmost province in Indonesia. Aceh is also well known in the past with its rich of history. Our scholars is actually the one that had the key factor of the spread of Islamic teaching in the Southeast Asia in the past. But maybe you remember the Indian Ocean tsunami in 2004, and sorry. But after disaster comes the blessing. We get a lot of international aids. And our region is also known as the regions that has long history of armed conflicts. It's about 30 years of armed conflicts happened in Aceh before the tsunami. But the Helsinki Peace Agreement has ended the 30-year civil war in 2005. I don't know why I was so emotional right now, but yeah. Okay, so after the tsunami, we have a lot of international aids, and the peace agreement help us to rebuild and recover efforts, to rebuild and recover our hometown. And you can see that's the picture that is taken by the AFP-JT image that you can have it free in the internet. But it's actually captured, the latest one are captured on 2014. So it is not the recent pictures. I tried to find the recent picture about 2022 or something, but I cannot find it. So that's what we have done. So now I'll talk about our university, Universitas Syiah Kuala. This is the largest and the oldest university in Aceh. We have a motto for our university as Jantung Hati Rakyat Aceh, or the heart of Aceh people. So after the tsunami come the blessings. Now we are the third best university in Indonesia based on Simago institution ranking 2023. And we are also this is a recent ranking that we got from the Times Higher Education World University Ranking 2024 that is just released a few weeks ago. Our university is ranked as the 2nd to the 9th best university in Indonesia. And according to Times Higher Education, we are the first for research quality. Okay. Now we talk about our student body. Why I talk about this? Because it's related to the gender gap that I would like to discuss. So our student body consists of 33% of women and 37% of men students. It's quite, it's following the trend in international student body. Based on my research in international student body, more women going to college rather than men. In our university, teacher training and education faculty are the one that has the largest percentage of women. But there are some faculties like engineering, and I think only engineering in this term that has more men than women. But in some department, we also have some, like in my faculty, mathematics and natural science, there are some department that has more men than women. So this is the trend that actually following the international trend that women goes to university more than men. But if we look at the student achievement, we see that women also perform better than men. Men students you see that for the GPA, the highest GPA, the percentage of women are higher than men. So it's sad for me because I want the parity. We don't want women excel in college, but then we found out that they're also in the workforce, the percentage of women, especially in STEM field, is very smaller comparing to the percentage of men in the workforce. So there is a leaking pipeline, I think, of the STEM preparation to the workforce. We don't know what happened, but some of the factors related to our culture, and also we need to do something about it. That's what I would like to talk about today. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I would like to start with the baseline data of the international data about STEM workforce. We see that according to MIT Professional Education that reported in 2023, that only 28% of the global STEM workforce are women. If we look at the regional level, the number is smaller, like 24% in the US, 17% in the European Union, and 16% in Japan, and 14% in India. So we know that I saw that in Tohoku University just now, the number of women is the percentage of women is less than men in the university, which is different with the trend in the international level and also in Universitas Syiah Kuala. I was wondering why we have this leaking pipeline of STEM workforce. And we look at another data from Boston Consulting Group in 2020. They reported only about 15 to 22% of world data scientists are women. This is in 2020 study. So I'm looking at the studies, the recent study in 2023. The number is a little bit increase a little bit. So, sorry. Now in 2023, based on the World Economic Forum, the Global Gender Gap Report, that the gender gap is closing, but the pace is very small. In 2023, it is consists of 146 countries involved in the study. Only the gender gap is 68.4. It means 68.4 women over 100 men of the parity. So, but if we look at the increasing number from the studies in 2022 to 2023, the number is increased a little bit, only 0.3%, that involve 145 countries, so one country less than the study in 2023. And if we look at the longitudinal study from 2006 and 2023, where only 102 countries involved, the number, the gender gap just increased very, very small. It's about 4.1% for about 17 years. So based on that data, with this pace, it will take 131 years to reach full parity if we let this pace to be like that. So we have to do something to make sure that we can increase the rate of the gender gap increase by a lot, to make sure there is a target for to close the gender gap. Maybe I heard about in 2030. If it is our goal, then we will be very, very, we have to do something a lot to make sure that we can reach that goal. So again, from the Global Gender Gap Data Report 2023 by World Economic Forum, we talk about, just now it's about STEM, and now I would like to talk about big data and AI. Only that data that we have at the moment. There's no data that really focus on data science and statistics. So big data and AI, I consider as the data science related field. We have only 25.2% women work as big data and AI related jobs. And if we look at the higher level, for sure, in other STEM area, STEM field, we see that the higher the level, the less women exist. So for the entry level, we have 29.4% women. But if we look at for non-STEM workforce, we actually almost close the gap. 49.3% women work in the non-STEM workforce. But for STEM workforce, we need to work hard to get that parity because we only have 29.2%. And looking at the senior leadership, the number is smaller. For non-STEM workforce, it is 32.2. But for our STEM C-suite and STEM VP, you can see that it's only 12.4 and 17.8. So that's the problem that we have to face together in the world, but how do we look at in studies that already done about why women did not represent well in this statistics and data science community. Boston Consulting Group conducted an online survey in August-September 2019, where the participants are more than 9,000 university students and graduates aged 35 or below, majoring in STEM, from Australia, Canada, China, France, Germany, India, Japan, Spain, the United Kingdom, and the United States, where 700 to 1,000 students per country participated in the study. And some respondents are already in the workforce, and 1,400 of them work in the data science related roles, such as data scientist, analytic architect, data engineer, machine learning engineer, analytics software engineer, or analytic UX and UI engineer. So what we found from the findings is that there are two things that women and men actually share the same perceptions, but women and men have different preference in data science job tasks. So according to the study, data science is seen to be theoretical and abstract, focused on manipulating code and data with low impact, and by implication, low purpose. The number of the perception of women and men, the percentage of the perceptions, I think, are not really different. 48% for women and 50% of men, and 49% overall. But when we see the data science problem are narrow and limited in scope, with little room or need for big picture thinking, 68% of the participant thinks that what happened. So they think that data science problems are narrow and limited in scope, with little room or need for big picture thinking, which is kind of sad, because we know that data science really have a very the application of data science is really give big room for to think about the world in general, like the big picture thinking of the problems. So women and men have different preference in data science job tasks. So women prefer to work in solving applied problems that have tangible impact. So it's 73% to 50%. So 73% of women think that they prefer work in solving applied problem. Meanwhile, only 50% of men prefer that. And for that, that's for data science major. And for other STEM students, the percentage is not really big, 67% for women and 61% for men. And then we also have that data science is more competitive than other type of job. So 81% of men think that the science is more competitive than other types of jobs. So we have to change that image because competition is not the things that we have to put first on the job market, because we need women participations in the job market. And women tends to avoid competition. So maybe we have to create a job environment that less competitive for data science. That's what I think based on that study. And also students feel that they are poorly informed about career in data science. So this is also the things that we have to deal with to inform them that what career in data science should be. 55% of female students do not feel they are well informed about various career opportunity in data science. Meanwhile, 60% of men reported the same feelings of lack of information. And you see that female students are smaller than men that feel about the poorly informed information about career in data science. But they don't go to the data science job market as what we expect them to do. This is the same that they understand, only few that understand, that do not understand the qualification of a data science role. And 47% of female students are aware of the career path in data science. Meanwhile, 62% of men reported the same. So maybe based on this data, the last part is the one that hinder women to go to the data science job market, because the career paths in data science for them are not interesting, and they are not aware of the career paths in data science. That's why they go to the other job field. Yeah. Now I talk about Universitas Syiah Kuala. We have also this is 5 departments that I think will be the resource of the data scientists in the future, which is mathematics, statistics, information science, electrical engineering, and computer engineering. I think economic and business in the future will also be the major, the degree that contribute for the data scientists in Indonesia in the future. But from nowadays, I don't think, when I saw the final project of the students in economic and business major, I don't see a lot of data science related research topics. But for mathematics, statistics, information science, electrical engineering, and computer engineering, I saw some of the final report of the students that I observed, but unfortunately, I cannot give you the quantitative data for this particular issue for the final project, because I don't have enough time to do that. Since when I see this opportunity to talk about this topic, I think that I should mention about how many female students who really do the data analysis related final project, because that's the indication of they really want to go to the job in data science field. So unfortunately, I just can see very just scan the topics, and then I feel like when you see that we don't have problem in statistics, because the parity seems like the gender gap does not exist for statistics, but it exists in data science. So we have more women than men students in mathematics, statistics, but we have less female students in information science, electrical engineering, and computer engineering. So as we see that a lot of female students enter university, but they don't go to the data science related majors. So this problem should be addressed, I think, if Indonesia or Universitas Syiah Kuala want to contribute to closing the gender gap in data science field. When we look at the why less female student goes to data science related final project topics, and I saw in our elective course that will be the pipeline for the students to go to the final project that they want to do. So the elective course in mathematics department, we have data analysis course. There are 43.8% male comparing to 56.2% female. And for advanced programming course, 100% of the students are male. It's really sad for me because I thought we have more female students than male students, but no one tried to take that advanced programming course, which introduced Python. That we know that Python are recently used in many data science analytical program. And then if we look at the statistics department, they have big data programming course, which also has more male than female. But surprisingly, for artificial intelligence course, the female are higher. The percentage of female are higher than male. So when I saw this data, I think maybe the culprit is the programming, the coding. So the students, the female students, tend to avoid the word programming in the course. I don't know, but what happened in mathematics department, and then I asked the students, the male student and also the female students, I interviewed some of them, and I asked why they don't choose, for the female student, why they don't choose advanced programming course. And the answer is has a variety, but I see that the term is like coding is hard. I never had coding in schools before. We need to have good logics in coding that I don't have. That's really something that I got from one of my students. Not just one, several students, women students, feel like they don't have good logics to do coding. And the things that I recognize a lot, if I made multiple errors in coding, I got frustrated and gave up. And then I cannot write codes, even though I understand the algorithm. I never enjoy writing codes. It takes too long to write codes. So based on my observations and also based on the interview, I see that female students avoid data analysis or data science related courses because they don't like the programming part of it. So I think it is really the problem that we should address. And I believe that women can code. There's no reason why women cannot code, right? So, and I feel like we have to do something about this. And I talked to my colleagues who teach introduction to data analysis, to data science course in statistics department. And she saw the same trend too in statistics, that women tend not to do a lot of coding related final project. So then they will not be interested in data science whatsoever. So this is one of the example of the students that I asked them to record what they think about programming and related to data science related course, why they don't take it, or why don't they take the final project with the topic of data science. This is one of the students. Her name is Ziva Aryanovita. She's in senior year. She's doing her final project at this time. She should be graduated next fall. So this is the video. I hope you could access the video.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Perkenalkan, nama saya Ziva Aryanovita, salah satu mahasiswa Prodi Matematika, Fakultas Matematika dan Ilmu Pengetahuan Alam, Universitas Syiah Kuala. Saya merupakan mahasiswa angkatan 2020. Selama saya menduduki bangku perkuliahan hampir 7 semester, saya sangat menghindari mata kuliah yang mengharuskan mahasiswanya memiliki kemampuan dalam hal pemrograman. Ada beberapa faktor yang menyebabkan saya tidak menyukai pemrograman. Yang pertama, tidak familiar, dikarenakan mata kuliah pemrograman ini baru saya dapati ketika saya menduduki bangku perkuliahan. Akan lebih baiknya, pemrograman ini sudah dikenalkan sejak sekolah menengah pertama atau sekolah menengah atas. Yang kedua, tidak adanya rasa penasaran. Seperti yang pengalaman yang sudah saya dapatkan, setelah mempelajari pemrograman di kampus, saya tidak melanjutkannya di rumah. Seperti halnya, misalnya error di kampus, codingnya error. Nah, hanya sampai di kampus saja, tidak untuk dicoba kembali, dilanjutkan di rumah atau dicoba di lain waktu. Selanjutnya, dikarenakan kurangnya ketelitian dalam hal coding. Nah, di saat codingnya error, saya kurang teliti dalam mengecek di mana tempat errornya. Begitu juga dengan yang codingnya, jika codingnya sudah error, saya langsung berputus asa, tidak untuk mencobanya kembali. Nah, begitu juga, akan tetapi untuk mata kuliah yang tidak mengharuskan mahasiswanya mempunyai kemampuan dalam hal pemrograman, saya insya Allah bisa, seperti halnya aljabar dan lain sebagainya. Akan tetapi untuk mata kuliah metode numerik, saya bisa di manualnya. Akan tetapi juga saya mempunyai kendala di bidang pemrogramannya. Akan tetapi, untuk mata kuliah analisis data merupakan salah satu mata kuliah yang mengharuskan mahasiswanya untuk memiliki kemampuan dalam bidang pemrograman. Karena di mata kuliah analisis data ini banyak sekali mempelajari tentang pemrograman, baik itu menggunakan bahasa Python dan lain-lain. Oleh karena itu, saya tidak tertarik dan tidak mengambil mata kuliah analisis data tersebut. Mungkin sekian penjelasan dari saya. Terima kasih banyak. Saya akhiri. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you. That's the one of my students' reflection. And this is one of the students' reflection that actually the one that I forced to take the final project in artificial neural network using backpropagation algorithm under my supervision. Maybe her reflection will give you the overview about the situation in our department.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Perkenalkan, saya Wasnizan. Saya adalah salah satu mahasiswa program studi Matematika, Fakultas Matematika dan Ilmu Pengetahuan Alam, Universitas Syiah Kuala. Saya juga salah satu mahasiswa di bawah bimbingan Ibu Rini Oktavia SSI MSc PhD dengan topik penelitian yaitu tentang penerapan artificial neural network menggunakan algoritma backpropagation. Topik penelitian ini berkaitan erat dengan pemrograman. Pemrograman adalah salah satu keterampilan yang diminati saat ini. Menurut saya, pemrograman itu adalah sebuah tantangan, karena dalam pemrograman sangat dibutuhkan kemampuan berpikir logis dalam memecahkan masalah pada kasus-kasus tertentu dengan bahasa pemrograman secara efektif. Salah satu mata kuliah tentang pemrograman yaitu pemrograman lanjut. Namun saya tidak mengambil mata kuliah tersebut karena pada awalnya saya kurang berminat. Namun setelah mengetahui informasi lebih lanjut, ternyata pemrograman itu sangatlah menarik dan penelitian saya akan tertuju dan berhubungan dengan pemrograman lanjut. Pemrograman ini juga sangat bermanfaat untuk saya, terutama dalam mengembangkan cara berpikir sistematis. Karena dengan belajar coding atau memprogram komputer, kita akan belajar bagaimana berpikir yang baik, terstruktur, sistematis, dan efisien, yang mana itu akan sangat berguna sekali dalam kehidupan kita. Selanjutnya, salah satu manfaat pemrograman yaitu melatih ketekunan. Belajar hal baru seperti programming atau coding merupakan sesuatu hal yang sangat menantang. Dan di dalam proses belajar, mungkin akan menemukan permasalahan yang rumit yang bisa membuat frustasi. Meskipun begitu, kita akan menghadapi kesulitan, tetapi tidak akan menyerah sampai bisa menyelesaikannya. Kemudian manfaat lainnya itu bisa mendorong kreativitas, melatih skill problem solving, dan lain-lain. Selanjutnya, saya juga ada mengambil mata kuliah analisis data, di mana pada mata kuliah tersebut membahas tentang artificial intelligence atau AI menggunakan metodologi data science. Adapun topik yang dipelajari selama perkuliahan meliputi pengembangan data, kemudian menentukan tujuan bisnis, teknis dan rencana proyek data science, mengumpulkan data, menganalisis data, membangun model, dan juga mempelajari bahasa pemrograman Python, yang mana semua materi tersebut sangatlah menarik untuk dipelajari. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay. That's two reflections of my student. I actually want to give you more, but we don't have enough time to do that. So we see that there is a problem to encourage girls to study statistics and data science in the general and to become data scientists. I suggest that we need a program to introduce statistics and data science in K-12 schools. I see that some of the programs that previous panelists already said in Japan and also in Korea just now, I think. Yeah, in Japan, that give the lecture to K-12 students. But I believe that we have to have a big program that really align with the school curriculums to introduce statistics and data science. But I think we need an international guideline to ensure that we follow the right track to really encourage girls to pursue pursuing degree in data science, and a professional development program for K-12 educators, for teachers, to introduce statistics and data science at school is also important. I saw that in my previous studies that the level of understanding of statistics of our K-12 educators are very limited. Then we need to do something about that, because if they don't get that in teacher education program, we should give them professional development. And then we need more role models of women in statistics and data science that I believe it's very not really, we don't have a well-known statistician and data scientist in Indonesia that will make my students want to be like them. That's what I think. So we have to set up a mentoring program for undergraduate female students to ensure they have the support they need to stay in statistics and data science path until they enter the workforce, because we see there is a leaking on the pipeline. So we need to make sure that the student who studies statistics and data science really work on this field when they enter the workforce. So, and the mentoring should continue to ensure the retention of women statistician and data scientists in the workforce, because studies said that some of the women in this field, in STEM field in general, I think in computer science, but I believe it is the same for data scientists also, that women quit their job when before they turn 35 years old. So we have to ensure that the retention of women statisticians and data science in the workforce will establish. So one thing that I would like to address to is that one of our studies showed that digital literacy is related to poverty in positive way. It means the higher the digital literacy, the higher the poverty level, which is really sad for me to find out that. And we try to find the reason why it happens, what happened with our data. So the study is not done yet, but that's the things that we have to well aware of, I think, because at the end of the day, what we need to do is to make our world a better place for everyone, right? If we have women we know that data scientists and statisticians are well-paid occupations at this time, but how our statistics and data science organizations are also contribute to reach the UN SDGs. How do we provide that there's no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, and etc. Of course, you already done a lot of research to make sure that we together work on to make our world a better place. But the digital literacy related to the programming that I talk about, it's also related to the increase of poverty in some part of the world. So we need to address that too. Maybe we have some thoughts about that and think about that and do something on this area. Maybe that's all that I would like to express. This is the beach in my hometown. Maybe you can visit this sometimes. Thank you so much for your attention. I give it back this session to Ice. Thank you so much, Ice, for introducing me just now. I forgot to tell you that. Thank you.
You're welcome, Rini. You're welcome. Thank you very much. That was a lovely presentation. I'd like to stop here to hear from our participants whether they have any questions. I haven't seen any questions in the chat. If they have any questions, that would be lovely. I can't see any questions whatsoever. So do you have any questions, dear attendees? Is the situation...
Actually, I'll get started. If there are no other questions from the attendees, I'll get started and maybe have a conversation.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Rini, I am actually the director of our data analytics program at Washington State University. And some of what you're seeing is, similar to my findings, but we really have been working pretty hard to get more female students in the program. And I think we have been fairly successful. And the things that we are seeing is that it is not the coding that has been a big deal. I mean, it's not so much just the coding piece. A lot of it, I mean, we are seeing there are some, socioeconomic reasons why people are not coming into the field. Not everybody knows what data scientists do, So I think the lack of role model, the lack of marketing to some extent, and also the idea that data science is the same as computer science, which is the same as AI, that's not true. I mean, data science is a whole different field. And as we are navigating this field, we need to figure this out. But one sort of offer I can do is, if you think that your students would be motivated or whatever, by talking to some of our female students in the program, we can definitely, through CWS and things like that, we can definitely make connections around the world so that, they have a connectivity with their peers, who are also the same age, going through the same sort of, maybe different places, but they might relate to each other. So I just wanted to bring it out here and see if that would be something that you'd consider.
Okay, thank you so much, Jen. I think what you said is also things that I should study more, because at this time I just have a glance or overview observations, but I certainly agree with you that we need to find out what is the role model is also the things that I mentioned just now. Yeah, I believe it is very important. Thank you.
But also cultural attitudes towards different jobs is the thing. It's not necessarily just the role model, because in many situations, we don't have role models as females leading us. I mean, my mom only finished primary school, so why did I do a PhD? I didn't have a role model, but I just wanted to achieve, and the people around me supported it. So that was good, and they were not necessarily females either. And so the cultural support and expectations sometimes makes a difference, but we also should learn to hit the wall until you break the wall and just go. Because how many times every one of us are told, no, you can't do that. And didn't we do it? Yes, we did. So how did we feel after that? So good. And felt like going to the person and saying, you told me I couldn't do it, but I did it anyway. Are you going to congratulate me now? So many things did happen to many females, not because we had role models or someone holding our hand, but we had wish to succeed. And lucky enough, we were in the right place at the right time sometimes. And then we managed to grasp the opportunities instead of saying, be a good girl and do your knitting and learn cooking and be a good wife. We didn't listen to that, did we? So I think role model might be important, but then again, how you feel and who you are makes the difference. She's doing the knitting for relaxing, I think, not because someone told her so.
Yeah, thank you. I agree that cultural really have impact on the way students think about what they can and what they cannot do. So yeah, hopefully I ask my students to watch this because I want them to have a big overview about the data science and statistics community. Maybe if they were interested to work in this field, they can, because they will see a lot of women here that are extremely capable to do that, and they will be able to do that too.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so on the other hand, like when you show the data about the number of the like the students, like the proportion between the men and the women, like the number of the enrolled women students is twice as the enrolled of men students. Like in the US, we see like much smaller imbalance. Like now, still like for the women students, they are maybe a little over 50%, but not like 1/3, 2/3. So is that only the data of your
Yeah,
university, or it is just across the whole Indonesia? Like, you know, the proportion of the women versus men students, like such a drastic difference?
from the World Bank data, actually, the whole world, if you look at the data in general, women that goes to university, tertiary education, are higher percentage, about 60%. So it's similar to what happened in Universitas Syiah Kuala. Maybe it's not happened in your country or in the US, or I don't know, but the World Bank said that it is what happened in the world today. So we don't know why. And I think I don't like it either, because I want the parity. I don't want to see that there are women goes to college and the men left behind. But maybe I have to consider the vocational school, because maybe some men go to vocational schools, not to the university. But I didn't have the data yet at the moment. But I believe that that shouldn't happen like that. I want the parity. I don't want, we need all perspectives, not just men or women, and also all the minorities should be included in the pool of the students. So right now, the situation in Indonesia, in my university, for sure, like that. And the only faculty that has more men is only engineering.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think, you know, it's great. Like more and more women are going for higher education, but it's still, like, you know, if have such a, you know, disparity in the other way. Yeah, we all know, you know, it's not good for their social development either.
Yeah. We don't know why. We still find out. Where, because we have a theory about that, like to enter a public university, like our university, it is very competitive. And comparing to the GPA of the girls is better than the boys. I believe that also take into account to that fact that in my university is the largest and the oldest university in our region. So many good students try to enter the schools. That's why maybe the men is fail in the entrance exams. That's one theory, but I have to look at the data.
Yeah, there was a report a couple of years ago from UK saying that we did help the girls, they are doing fine. Now we need to help the boys because they're not doing fine. So there might be the case in there too, but I haven't looked at the stats over there.
Yeah.
I so agree. You know, for our students, you know, we only have master level students and graduate certificate. We always have a much larger proportion of women students than the male students. But I had thought, you know, that's the issue of the public health. I think in the world of the public health, you know, we have women professionals much more than the than the, you know, the men's.
And also it's not the education gap, but the pay gap as well. Sometimes women has to have a master's degree to earn the same amount of money as the men with a bachelor's degree, especially in US. The pay gap is huge. I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, so I think that's your issue. Thinking in the leadership part, you know, we still have less women. You know, now, you know, seems like, you know, on the base level, the women are catching up, but on the higher level, you know, it's still, you know, like a much, you know, a lot of disparity there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the tech world, like, you know, data scientists are very much hired by tech. And if you look at the big tech industries, the gender gap is huge there. And, you know, so I think the idea of introducing data science, data analytics very early on is important, you know, and tying it not only with just math. I think math has been also a barrier to entry sometimes to, you know, tying data science with other skills, not only just math and coding, is a way I think we need to go.
Yeah.
I think American Statistical Association is looking at things like that.
Yeah, we need guidance, please.
Yeah, and I think
if we have the guidance, then we can make some programs here to attract more students.